I don't mind it.
Okay, it's officially recording. Rio, if I need you to explain stuff that's on here, can I bug you about it? Okay.
You know I love spending time with you.
Yay!
Okay, we'll do it over tacos.
Oh, yeah. I prefer some in this.
I don't like that. I'm not gonna invite them.
She did.
Yeah. OCD, sorry.
I have kids who want to be up, right? They become role models.
Yeah, it was like just and the author. Yeah, there's definitely some like
That map, like going on the map that way kind of trips me out.
even if I do
Because, like, I'm not.
they got the 50-page everything.
Okay.
I know, right?
I wanted to give you a chance to take a look at those tonight. And you can, if you feel you want to get started on it, I'm going to hand out to you tonight what I expect and in the order in which I think it should be in your notebook. I'll give you a handout on it before you leave. I think what I would like to do is set aside February 5th, which is a Thursday, of a night where our class is working on the notebook in here. I will have cutting board, I will have paper and glue, scissors, whatever you need, so that you can sit around and chat and get ideas from other people. But you can see now what the notebook's kind of going to look like. It's just a creative, kind of an elementary teacher school way of giving you all kinds of ideas that you can use when you're teaching. Whitney?
Are we allowed to take pictures of some of the ideas from the different notebooks?
Yes. Yes, you can. Which is a good idea. I never thought of that. Nobody's ever asked that before. That either makes you really bright or a weirdo. I'm not sure. Rachel?
Do you want it in a composition notebook?
The notebook would be, that's what these are, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't want it in like a spiral notebook or?
If you want a spiral, fine. I've had some that are a little taller. That's totally up to you. Do whatever you want. Everybody seems to really like to get creative on the cover. I've noticed that. Oh, God, no. Do whatever you need to do.
I was thinking like a free reading binder and then like.
That's fine with me, whatever you want to do. It's your notebook. So if you want to do that, great, you do that. Christie,
The handout of what needs to be in there, would you, if we want more details of what that is on the ones that say self, would you explain that?
I will.
Okay.
Plus, I have page numbers you can look in the book for it. But yes, I will explain it all.
Okay.
But to get a start, November 5th, let's spend a work night.
November?
I mean,
Like,
yeah, November 5th. It's on February 5th. Okay? Now, you learn anything so far? Let's learn some more. I decided to use my high school photograph for our next idea today. This is my senior picture. Went to Harlem High School in a place called Loves Park. Nice name, huh?
What
Loves
stage?
Park, Illinois. And I actually, after I graduated, went to college and nearly flunked out by playing pinochle all the time. It's a true story. And halfway through, in my junior year, I got that little notice that said, if you don't bring your grades up immediately, you will be asked to leave the university. I actually did get that. And so I decided to try to bring my grade up. So the first thing I did was I took typing. And at the time, my sister had taught me how to type, and I could type about 60 words a minute. The first day of class, I went in and typed 25 words a minute with about 10 mistakes in it. And then slowly got a little bit better and a little bit better. And the professor said, God, that's a great improvement. So he gave me an A. It was the same way in swimming. I took swimming. But then I also decided to switch majors. I went in and I was going to be an accountant or a CPA. And God, I just couldn't do it. It just bored me. It was just sitting in these accounts and writing figures and numbers and everything. So I thought, well, I'm not only going to take the easy courses, I'm going to switch majors. And I didn't know what to do. But I got into debate and public speaking and theater. And I totally switched my major to that. But I had taken so many courses in business that I kept my minor as a business minor, but it wasn't in accounting. And debate, especially, turned me on so much that then all of my grades from that point on were just phenomenal. And I was able to graduate from college in 5 years. I had to go extra because I had to take fewer credits. So I went back and taught at the same school that I graduated from. I had 6 credits in U.S. history. All of my other credits were in theater, public speaking, debate, business. But I had 6 credits in U.S. history. So what do you think they had me teach? U.S. history. And what class do you think they gave me? The advanced juniors. And I remember it was just like every day I felt like I had arrows in me, and they had pinned me to the wall. But I found that I really liked history. And so I stuck it out, and never really did take any more history classes. Everything that I know in history is pretty much self-taught. And I know quite a bit by now, quite a bit. And I say that to you, all of that, because I really want you to get rid of your fear of social studies. And I know everybody has it. But I want you to get rid of it. You will learn, you will learn, you will learn. If you go in there for your first year and you just talk about yourself and your family, that's history. And then as you're doing that, you'll say, oh, let's look this up. And somebody will write a report on it, and you'll learn that. And slowly, you will build up a huge repertoire of information about social studies. I guarantee it. And if it isn't true, you can come and sue me for it. And I say that in confidence because I'm of the age that I'm not going to be around that long. So Christine, what's your comment?
So did they ever change the grade you were in? Because you've been teaching 40 plus years.
45.
45? That means you probably would have gotten a sort of universal K through 12 certification? Because that's kind of what my
Well,
dad
what
had.
I can tell you what I ended up, see, I taught 10 years in Illinois, and then I quit teaching because I was sick of it.
Okay.
And that's, I suggest that for anybody when you get sick of it, quit it. And so I quit teaching for 4 years. Moved to California, in Los Angeles specifically, and I worked in these huge malls. In other words, my first one was right next to Disneyland, taking care of all the plants and irrigation. So I was doing horticultural work, and it was fun to learn. I had never done it before. And I did that for 4 years. And I decided to go back into teaching when I moved back from Los Angeles to Wisconsin. And I did some substitute teaching. But then I got sick of that because there were too many ticks in Wisconsin. And so I moved to, I came out here and just decided to settle in Cleveland and started teaching at Thorpe.
Because my dad is one of the last ones that, when he got certified to teach, it was K through 12.
I have
sort
that.
of-
That's
yeah.
what I have. I can teach anything K through 12, any subject in
Yeah.
the state of Washington. Yeah. And I don't have to go back to school to be certified at all.
Yeah.
So it's one of those, I got that in 1984. I came to Central Washington University and got my master's in teaching gifted students and running gifted programs.
Yeah, because it was just,
So-
because that's changed.
All right, let's talk about me. What do you think? Would you call me a serious person? Would you call me a real serious student? Do I look, what makes me look real serious on there, or what makes me not look real serious on there?
You're not
A
smiling.
lot like Thomas Edison.
Oh, really? I've been told that
Yeah,
before. That's why my parents named me Thomas. It's because they said you look a lot like Thomas Edison. Yeah, this is Thomas Edison. This is what we call a primary image. I mentioned that on Tuesday. What do you think of Thomas Edison? From his eyes to his eyebrows to the look on his mouth. They say if a mouth goes down, they're real somber people, or goes up, I don't know. His ear size, hairstyle, what do you think of Thomas Edison? What would be some just random observations you might make about his personality?
Probably a fun-loving guy.
He looks like he probably is. Well, this could be your dad, actually. You never saw him when you were born. He was out working in the shed. What do you think? Let's have some comments.
Well, his hair's a little mussed, so he doesn't look super formal, even though he's wearing a suit, but that was the style back then, so maybe he had to hold really still for those type of photographs, so most people did not smile, but just
Oh, did he?
hair.
That's a good point. Let's talk about that for a minute. So what year do you think this is? Do we know when he made his invention, patented his invention?
Well, I know he first premiered the light bulb in, what was it, 1889?
Yeah. So his patent was around 89, but it was in his later years that he did the patent. So 1889, and he's rather old in 1889. He made it to like 2000, 1900. So this is probably 40 years earlier, 1849. 1850? What was it? What were cameras like in 1850?
Wiggle their head and make things.
Yeah.
And that.
Like gunpowder.
Did they have to sit still?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. Long period of time.
Tin types.
They actually call them, I think, daguerreotypes. Daguerreotypes, and they were, where the head was over, you couldn't let any light in, and they had to be still for a long period of time. I should bring in a picture of Abraham Lincoln and show you one. That's definitely a daguerreotype. Serious fella? Does he look kind or mean?
He looks mean.
Well, he looks what?
He looks mean.
At the time, nobody smiled at me.
Kayla, you say he looks mean?
Yeah, I don't know. He has like a furrow between his brow, like a little bit. He just looks like he's really serious. And he's
Yeah, he
like,
does look,
maybe mean.
he looks serious to me.
It's more like at the end of the picture. and I can't hold
Let's
it.
see if we can find another image.
Spread bleed.
Cute old man.
What do you think? Same guy.
Still has messy hair.
He looks happy.
Yeah.
My question.
There's the
Do you
brow.
know
Yeah.
anything of like why a lot of pictures used to be taken profile back in the day?
No?
No.
No. I do know this though. Here's a good story. I can tell you this much. I know this for sure. No, we don't have a picture of it. This one over here. Yeah, this might work. This is George Washington crossing the Delaware River on Christmas night, or Christmas Eve night. And he surprises the Hessians in Trenton. And the Hessians are German soldiers who've been hired by the British Army to fight us in the Revolution. And this was a surprise. He surprised them. And he never lost a man in this battle. And he took them all prisoner, and it's turned the whole Revolutionary War around to where we started to win. Now, the thing is, look at George Washington. This is a portrait.
He's standing in the boat.
This is a painting. And incidentally, this painting was done about almost 100 years after this battle. So do you think the artist was there? This is an artist's interpretation. But I want you to just look at George Washington. He's the big guy in the boat.
What's on his pants? Yeah, is that a hole? What is that? What's on his pants? Is that like a stitch? Or a watch?
I don't know.
Well, it's not
Let's
tan
hope
like
so.
his pants.
No, yeah.
How many arms do you see of George Washington? How many arms did you see?
Two.
Do you see both his arms? 3. Who said 3? You saw 3 arms there?
He's one like just one on his leg. He's like,
1, 2.
One on his legs.
you and I are both like,
You
oh
see 2
no.
arms.
Yeah, that was having him not owning that. 3.
Can you see his entire left hand? Or does he have a fist closed?
Fist closed.
Fist closed. That'll work as an example. It's not the best, it's the best I could do tonight. I've seen pictures of George Washington where they only show him from his shoulders up in portraits. And I always wondered about that. Or a lot of times he would be like this. Or a lot of times he would be to the side where you'd only see maybe this part of his left arm, but nothing of his right arm, and never his legs. This one's different. Of course, this was painted at a different time. That's why. Now, why? Why would you never see George Washington's arms or legs or hands?
Maybe so he wasn't recognized as his lawyers?
Nope. Nope. You know the answer, and I'll wait you out. Another method. I know you know the answer, and one of you is going to come up with it. Why would you only see maybe one arm, no legs?
Could show sign of weakness.
What?
Could show a sign of weakness.
Nope.
Or something?
There's a definite reason. Nope.
He's always riding a horse.
Nope.
Maybe like FDR and like polio or something?
Pardon? Pardon?
Did he have like a disease, like FDR had polio? Or
No,
was crippled
no,
by
but that's a
polio?
good, that's a good thought. That's kind of thinking I think is really good.
Because he's short.
George Washington was 6'2".
That's not.
George Washington was about the 5th tallest president. Abraham Lincoln was 6'5". Bill Clinton was about 6'4".
Really?
Yeah. And George Washington is 6'2", is pretty tall. James Madison, 5'4". There were about 3 of them, 5'4". We still haven't gotten to it. Whoops, what is that?
$20.
Oh, I didn't even show you.
Because he wouldn't fit on the money.
What? What did you say about money?
His body wouldn't fit on the money.
Oh, no.
Oh.
Now we've gotten somebody with a clue. What?
The picture that everybody sees of him is always from that angle. Maybe.
Nope.
Did it cost too
Did
much?
you know your hand is in the air?
Did it get cost?
Why do I keep bringing
I
it
don't
up?
know.
Did it cost too much?
Oh, what did she say?
Said it cost too much.
It costs too much. Doing a portrait at that time in the 17 and early 1800s, before daguerreotype cameras came along, doing a portrait was extremely expensive if you wanted to show the fingers and the limbs and the legs and the toes. If you wanted to just do the bust, it wasn't very expensive.
He was a cheap man, much like Miranda said.
It was really expensive, and I can see why. So, why are we onto this subject anyway?
Does this have something to do with the fact that George Washington was also a farmer?
Oh, let's get back to this guy. These are called what? No, what are they called for social studies teachers? And you always ask your students. Primary images. Primary images are the thing. They cause investigation. They force students to make observations. They force students to make conclusions. They force students to use their prejudices. And that's healthy. And we've already used our prejudices. Somebody said something about his eyes looked mean and so forth. What about this one? Do his eyes look mean?
He still has
See
fur.
that?
He just looks really scary.
He looks scary?
I think those might be wrinkles.
From being so serious.
She said it, Danielle said it right here. Ding, ding, ding. This is what I get the impression of. Grandpa. Doesn't he look like a grandpa?
Yeah.
And he looks like he'd be kind of a nice grandpa.
Like Sam.
Now we have we actually have two different theories. One that he might have been a little bit ornery, and now we have a theory that he's kind of a grandpa. So what I'm going to give you right now is the other primary source. I'm going to give you a primary document where it's an excerpt from his diary that he wrote when he lived on Menlo Park, in Menlo Park, New Jersey. See what you think. See if this changes your mind at all.
Isn't the diary supposed to be personal?
When you
die,
die,
you're president. If someone took my diary and like told him to people, I'd be really upset.
If you were dead, though, you wouldn't really.
Yeah, when you're dead, it's kind of.
Journal, okay?
You keep a diary?
Yeah.
Why don't you bring it in and we'll read it? And we can compare it to Thomas Edison's.
Well, you know when you get angry. Or write it out.
Really big letters, all profanity.
This is about 1985, the date on the diary. Did he live that long?
Oh, is that what you meant to say?
Yeah, he lived about.
Okay, it's like, he lived into the 1980s, so he wakes up, awakened. Does he wake up wearing his diary to you? Maybe it's right by his bed. He was using his artistry.
So what do you think of him? Kind of weird?
Very random, like scatter like from
I
one
know
thought
it.
to another.
He's drunk.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's all over the place, isn't he?
yeah.
Holding a heavy cigar as the form.
I like the.
He's all over the place. He doesn't seem to be, he doesn't seem to be too adverse about just satisfying his pleasures, does he?
No.
Just goes with the whim.
Now dancer is the expensive. He keeps talking about dandruff.
Yeah, the dandruff thing is really something, isn't it? It must have been new to them then. They didn't have commercials to tell them they had dandruff. They just put their hand up here and say, oh my God, what's this white stuff?
And then starts talking about freckles.
Yeah.
Cancer.
Then my brain.
So what do you think of Thomas Jefferson? I mean Thomas Edison.
He's a weirdo.
Interesting.
What have we learned about him? That's the conclusion.
This man spent too much time in shed.
Why can't I just keep a thought? Look, that's what he looks like now. Anybody out there want to help me keep one thought for 5 seconds?
He probably forgot why he was sitting.
We can credit him, can't we?
Yeah, oh yeah.
But what have we done tonight? Or this evening, whatever you want to call it. What have we done? We've humanized him, haven't we?
Oh, yeah.
We keep throwing names of these people out there, like I threw out George Washington. We were going on and on and on about him. And finally, I gave his height, and that kind of humanized him. Thomas Edison, God, he's this hero. How many inventions did he have? It isn't so much the inventions that he invented. It's the people he hired to make the invention so he could patent them. That's where his success came from. The same thing was with Henry Ford in the car in the 1910s and 20s. Henry Ford was an entrepreneur, but he had a life. He had thoughts. This guy had thoughts. You don't know what they were. Oh, we do. I think, we give him credit. He was a great American, but we're all great Americans. We're citizens. We're great. You're great, I'm great. Everybody's great who's a good American. And so we can credit him for being a good American, a great American. We can credit him for the light bulb. But it humanizes him. And what do you think that humanization does to your kids once they see that? It gives them hope. God, he's just a guy who had stupid thoughts, just like I have stupid thoughts. And I can do that too. And that's part of social studies, it's a human factor, where that's what you kind of try to give your kids. Plus, one more message to you. In Central Washington, I won't go into why, you'll just have to trust me. I have been around Central Washington between 2003 and 2011. I wasn't teaching in school, I was running a federal grant for the U.S. Department of Education in Central Washington that I applied for, and it was to teach teachers how to teach history, U.S. history, as a matter of fact. And I went around all the way from Easton all the way to Grandview. And all the schools in between, all the Yakima schools, all the Ellensburg schools, the Cleellums, and all the way out to Mattawa, and all in Grant County, and all of those places. And had those teachers come to my workshops, and I tried to teach them how to teach history. And I visited their classes and watched them teach. And there is a serious, serious issue that we have to breach out there, especially in Central Washington. And that is that it is predominantly Hispanic. Nothing against the Hispanic people, but if they're here, we have a responsibility that I don't think we've even thought of before. These kids, well, let me ask you this. Who in the classroom tonight has never seen a parade? Not a single person. Is there anybody in the classroom tonight who, when you were littler, smaller, or maybe you even do it now, I still do, watch a parade, and at the beginning of the parade you always see the veterans marching down, and the guns are shooting the start of the parade, and the flags are coming, and there's a band playing behind them, and all these yada, yada, yada. And people actually stand up in unison, take off their hats, and pay homage to these people. And it gives me goosebumps. I still get goosebumps like I did when I was a kid. But who doesn't? The kids from other cultures. They don't know the American culture yet. So how are we going to make it for them where they understand that there are times when we get goosebumps, and if we want them to be citizens, we want to teach them to get goosebumps too. And the only way we can do that, I think, is to humanize our history. And give them opportunities in class to sing patriotic songs with each other, or to see a flag, or to put on a play about America, to put on the crossing of the Delaware River as a play, where one of them is carrying a flag, and maybe there's music playing, or whatever we have to do. I think social studies is a way to immigrate our country. It's a tool. And that's, I want to get that message to you. It's a responsibility that I think teachers of the future have. Our immigration isn't going to stop. And it's not just Hispanic. I've read articles where I think the Russian population in Seattle has increased drastically. Same thing, same thing. So all of this, you can see my excitement and my love of it. I know you can feel it. All of this is why social studies is so important. It is an important, it's a viable discipline. And I hope that you remember that and put it into your classes. I really do. That's kind of a sales pitch. But you saw a lot of methods tonight. Let's comment on it for 5 minutes. Let's just talk about the methods. And then you'll have 5 minutes to write your reflections. But right now, what did you see? What worked, do you think? How would you incorporate it in your classroom? How does it fit your personality? That's another issue we have to get into. How does it fit your personality? How, when Danielle is watching me teach, and she sees all this activity going on, is it something you can incorporate? Something you think you can feel comfortable with? Comments? Go ahead.
I like doing like the acting it out because you could kind of put yourself in their shoes. And that's
Into whose shoes?
into like the people in history, their shoes.
Okay, people in history. And wouldn't it be fun to have a crossing of the Delaware where we have 10 people in a boat when there isn't room for 10? That'd be kind of fun. And who would play the part of George Washington? And here's another thing. Where's my picture? Oh, here it is. Is there a woman in here? Is this a woman? Is that a woman?
Maybe.
Maybe, or is it just the style of hair at the time?
He's got the flow.
Yeah, they're going to battle, the Battle of Trenton.
There's no way there's women in that boat.
Really?
Really?
Oh. Oh, what you got?
Credit card.
Women can do
Right. We'll just bet debit cards.
All right.
with the check. There are all kinds of stories of women in battle in the Revolution. We were just reading some about women in battle in the Civil War. Women are amazing creatures. Amazing. I admire them. I admire all of you. I find it fascinating that the work that it is to hold a household together is still, I think, the responsibility that women take on. Just holding the house together and everything. And they did that, but there were many, 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 many women who missed their husbands, and so they just went with them to the war during the Revolutionary period. Fascinating. Fascinating. Martha Washington would stay with George Washington on occasion at Valley Forge. I don't know if it's conjugal visit or what, but there were a lot of women who just missed their husband, so they just went to war with them. Molly Pitcher, you ever hear of her?
They fought in the war?
Yeah, yeah. Molly Pitcher, I think, was one who used to deliver water. Her husband went down shooting a cannon, so she just loaded the cannon and kept firing.
Awesome.
Yeah,
So she wasn't
great, isn't it?
technically in the
Fascinating.
military, they just went for kicks.
They just went.
They just went
Yeah,
for kicks.
yeah. They weren't getting paid. They weren't enlisted. They just went for kicks.
Right, debit card for debit card, there's not a woman in that boat.
Oh, debit card.
Okay,
I don't think that's like.
you called,
Debit
you,
card, maybe in another boat, but not that.
you called my baby.
Not that specific boat with Jordan.
All right. Any other comments? What did you see? What was good? What not? Yes,
There's a
Kobe.
lot of repetition in the map challenge.
Yeah.
Each student had a chance to do it,
Mhm.
and all the students who were listening also just kept on hearing it and being able to use it.
And what have you heard probably in all of your education classes? Repetition is necessary. But there are creative ways to do it. You don't have to bore the kids to death. Just there are creative ways to have a lot of repetition. Anything else? What do you think, Sarah? Anything? Any of this? Does this make sense to you or not?
Yeah.
Okay.
The humanizing of history is really good because my dad always just recites things to me. It's like, I don't remember any of it.
Yeah.
But this helps you remember it because you care more.
Good. Good. Leslie?
I liked how you created a community that supports each other. So during the map challenge, some students I can see being fearful, but over time they'll realize someone's going to help me. I'm not going to be up there for 10 minutes struggling to look at the whole map by myself. So we support each other and help in learning that way.
Okay. Those of you who want, in fact, I think I'll give this out to all of you. This is the list of contents that I want in your interactive notebook. Those of you who want to get going on it, go for it. Want to pass that around? Give me half. Thanks. So there's a lot going on. All right. I noticed some of you were writing as we were talking. That's fine. But let's at least get those reflections down. Methods. Methods.
Do you have another one of these sheets?
I think I do. Is that your course requirements?
The requirement?
So what do you mean by self?
Do we turn this in? Or just personal?
That's all personal.
Like, you can't.
It's all personal.
Because it's like a reflection, and then.
But what's
We talked about it. But it's like that thing when you talk about like your concepts, geography before this class, and then after this class, and history before this